What is good, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to draw on your photos in Procreate. That's right, it's going to be a really cool half doodle, half photo. So let's go ahead and open Procreate. To add a photo, tap on photo in the top right hand corner, navigate to your photo, and it should just pop up in your artboard. Now let's decide what we want to turn into a cartoon. I'm definitely going to do these two ice cream cones, my clothes, and I'm thinking the DQ sign up above. Also, this video is not sponsored by Dairy Queen. I just felt like I had to say that. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is outline all of the objects that we want to turn into cartoons. So I'm just going to start a new layer and call it outlines, and I'm going to use a black scripting brush for this process. So the reason I really like using the scripting brush for this cartoon style is because you can really control the thickness of the lines just by adjusting how much pressure you apply with your pen. So that means if you want your lines to be a little thinner, then you apply less pressure, and if you want your lines to be thicker, you apply more pressure with your pen. So I'm starting to freestyle quite a bit here, really going off the rails. I'm starting to over-exaggerate how much these ice cream cones are melting, just to give it that extra cartoony feel. I also thought it would be really cool to continue all of this melting of the ice cream cones on the actual Dairy Queen sign, just to give it a little extra fun and surreal cartoony feel. Alright, moving on to the clothing. So when it comes to outlining and line work, I really like to keep the thicker lines on the outside. It kind of acts as a border to each shape, and then fill in some of the details with thinner lines. Yes, that weird shape is supposed to be a bow, it's just kind of coming undone. But anyways, but yeah, I'm just using some of the thinner lines for things like wrinkles and some of the stitching. And I'm really trying to keep most of the thicker lines on the outer outline of the pants and the shirt, and just some of the more important details. And another thing I want to note is I did end up leaving all of these black outlines on one layer, but it should be fine because we probably won't be making any big edits like moving things around on this layer. Okay, so now that everything's outlined, we're going to start adding color. And to do that, I'm actually going to pull up a reference photo. So go to the wrench tool, canvas, and then turn on the little reference toggle. Then it's going to ask you to import a photo. I'm just going to choose the same exact photo that's on our artboard. And I'm really just using this reference photo so that I can eyedrop colors quickly, and so I don't have to keep changing the opacity of my background image. Okay, so I'm going to start out by adding the shadows of this chocolate ice cream. So I'm just going to name the layer Chocolate Shadows. Go ahead and eyedrop a nice shadow color, and then I'm just going to add all of the shadows on the underside of these outlines. So when it comes to drawing shadows, it's really helpful for me to think about where the light is coming from. So let's just pretend the light's coming from the top right hand corner of this photo. So therefore the shadows would be, on the underside of all these creases. To finish up this ice cream, I'm just going to add a layer underneath the shadows, and I'm going to call it Chocolate Base Color. You guessed it, I'm going to choose a nice base color for this ice cream and just start coloring. I like to outline the entire shape first, and then, just drag and drop the color into each shape. Alright, moving on to the next ice cream cone. New cone, but we're going to follow the same exact process as we did for the chocolate cone. I'm going to choose a nice shadow color and apply the shadows underneath each of these drips. And then I'm going to add a new layer for the base color, and then just start filling in this ice cream cone. And now, moving on to the biggest ice cream of them all, the big DQ. I'm going to go in and fill in all of the shadows underneath the drips, just like we did with the ice cream cones, and then I'm going to proceed by filling in the rest of the background color. I really like adding in these shadows instead of just filling in just one solid background color, because it just adds a really nice depth to the artwork. So at this point, I thought that the DQ looked a little plain, a little bland. It needed some spicing up, some excitement. So I went back to the outlines layer and just started adding in a few additional drips. And when you add more drips, that means you gotta add some more shadows too. So I'm also adding in some more shadows for some definition. And you know what? We're going to follow those same exact steps for the shirt and the pants. We're going to go through, add the shadows, and then we're going to follow that by filling in the base color. So I'm just going to speed up this process quite a bit because I think you guys know what you're doing by now. And if you need help trying to figure out where to draw the shadows, you can always look at your reference photo up to the left or just trace what you can see. And here we are. We finished filling in all the color. So I'm going to go ahead and turn up the opacity of the background, and we're going to move on to adding highlights. So just like we did all those original black outlines on one layer, we're going to do all the highlights on one layer too. So just add this layer underneath the outlines, and I'm going to do all of the highlights in white. So for the highlights, we're just going to imagine that our light source is coming from the top right hand corner again. So just start adding those to the top of each shape. A good rule of thumb is to just add these highlights on the opposite side of where we added the shadows. So for example, we added the shadows on the bottom side of each shape before, so we're going to add the highlights on the top of each shape now. Alright guys, home stretch. The last thing we're going to do is add doodles to our artwork. So go ahead and add a layer to the very top, and I'm going to call this Doodles. And then we're just going to kind of start sketching around the lovely subject in our artwork just to kind of frame the person in the photo. So if you don't know what kind of doodles to draw, just start by following the silhouette of the person in your photo. So I like to add lines to kind of border the silhouette. I like to add little expression marks like sparks and little curly cues. I also am very obsessed with adding crowns right now. So I definitely had to add that in. Basically, when in doubt, it's always a good idea to add lines and stars, and you can even add like little circles and dots. Basically anything goes when you're adding doodles. I even went ahead and started adding some cool doodles around this DQ sign, but I know you guys can't see that in this video. But yeah guys, this is the finished artwork. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up and show you guys how to export your artwork. So go ahead and click on the wrench tool, the share button, and then go down to JPEG or whatever file format you want to save. And then I'm just gonna press save image. This should drop the image right into my photo gallery. So I'm gonna quickly open that up, and there it is. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I would love to hear your feedback in the comments, so please like, comment, and subscribe. But yeah, until next time, peace out.